Yema Obia Akwaba Eba spotlight on the way Jumedie. So it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, part of the New Testament. So Gospels no in Sempano so offer trust and say in Sempa said the Matthew Troy, said the Luke Troy, said the Mark Troy, and I said the John Troy. So a can New Testament home and I say encounter. Me did say be a me bisa question ya say Derek I say men are okay. And if it's a fa your Bible na unya ko your division akese mienu your Old Testament na afi your New Testament. Na New Testament mu no so hwa say wo kan a hu Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Inti ade na Derek go ka say Matthew, Mark mo bisa sa question we say krampo. Is it necessary to discuss this? And very necessary to discuss it. Inti yenyi bre na yensua ho ade. Enya me nko na me di dwuma yi me ne Minia Emmanuel Anoche in Sian all the way from Kentampo. Anoche Akwaba.
Yo, yeah.
Na wapo mboko die.
Never do one else way.
Yankupa darama bibia fine pa. Anoche se wo he ye series aye sha say ye ne etiefo ne ahwefo esua no what hinders me from being baptized. So bibi wo hono ma betimi esi mesubo ho kwan ana menim se obete adesua no ho kakra ne die nti ye sha say ye sua sa die a kire etiefo a ene na first time a omo join ye.
Yo, I mean that was na mema atiefo nyina akwaba. Na me fast akwanya isu etia obibia wetie. Ja me sure say waje mrese obeti Nyankopon asem. Ebe se anya obia na conviction no oyisu ni mreti Nyankopon asem nti se oba na se wetie na nya sure bebre. Na said the Derek kan no adesua yesa ase be bosumi ni. Na atifu asem titiro da so and say what hinders me from being baptized say e dey nisi masubo ho kwan everything the entire church side ni say enche bia na yete enche bia ne nsem bi ko so wasafo ni mu a e ma ho sem be bebre e ma nipa biro na e ka ho asem ye ho videos ni audios ni ade a enche ni mu no na e ba se ekobo bi asu a usually no eni say ye kofa ebia ncheche bi edebe chichiri ni bakọ na nsa na ekobo na su eni se uma bibisi na subo ho kwan se ohia subo ade bo na suwie na achi na ade na wa cheche nti ema yeti ho asem na yesua ho ade no ebe nyanti ase se sa cheche no enye ne na echa ase na te 2024 na cheche ne ba efia chichi no ho abi na eba nti ikase yekomu na ebi se ho se de nti a ma sa cheche na ba nti ehwe hu say yon normal hudo bebre enne didi so a ama saje na but edi kan say ebi mu church say so bi nye o Kristo ni a kisosumra na eni ni so nti sa topic ni ya yo videos bebre a eno so ko e Facebook na YouTube page a beja na ho bebi mu say da bi sa church na nye na kre bebi say so obi enye o Kristo ni a kisosuma apam no abiema mo obi a yesu ama obi a ho kwan na so nipa na ya so de a omumma yesu na pam no nti so emano ye edi won so nti so bi no Kristo ni no o outside Christ and say oni Kristo su mu a otimi ye bone otu Kristo mra ena so otimi to mra nti no ze mra ni di so na ono mum na ye den anya so tie ena ncheche ba ko so a ena so masa ncheche ya ba ne se ebi mu se cheche se Matthew ekodu John the Gospels and say asempa ngoma no Matthew, Mark, Luke and John no ena so enka pa fofo no ho say the Derek edisha ase no nti mu cheche se over Matthew chapter 19 verse number 1 to verse number 10 na Yesu cheche fa aware ho na san se ba Yesu ka fa aware ho nyina na edi Kristo so mu ewo Old Testament na say ese Moses so na se nti ka say ye je mre na efia ho de na ehu se so san na tie say Matthew, Mark, Luke and John no enka pa fofo no ho ana say ka ho na ka ho a e ka ho sen enti na na ya je mra ye be yesa ncheche na nje be so ka ho na fre onwa bi na fre wadafo bi na nyina ye mu na yinsia Onyankopon asem
anoche me da se ne osamri se me de baako ka ho a ye sha ase say yes discussions we say especially ye fa what hinders me from being baptized enuanom dodo na di etire and we appreciate it. One thing I mepe say meka bra enuanom genuinely anoche bi ma ye confused because obi ye brother baako ne na sema obi samine say preacher for edin komo nyina me nyina mepemu nyina ma sempa o titi me hu bebi a menko na me se me nua ko bebi a Bible the Bible kire no Ahanako.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Okaya in your debate with atheists, many years ago, statement back what my reference was from Anthony Flew, or Professor Anthony Flew, or your 80s on Jimmy say Namibia or now by the time Obewuno, no, I JD say Namibi or and that's more kind say he has followed the evidence wherever it leads. Until wherever the evidence leads, na honor koye say asema aba ye di hu nkomo say we follow Bible no kete di echiri akwa serie ya you get to know the truth. Take your men her personalities because I feel say na sad no block many people from seeing the truth for what it is. Ena ebio enye ntokwa unim de bi ma adwen ayo the moment meka say hey ene sa asemi say na Bible ekire ne say ntine na me ne ayi minua no ye kontokwa gidi ma me hia me sisi ye
Adana trawa
and that is not what we have proved. No, we want to test all things and hold fast to that which is true. Now, one passage I type Kuti today, I'm referencing it whilst we discuss this. Acts chapter 17, verse 11. The Bereans were fair-minded. Okay, I say these were more fair-minded than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness and searched the scriptures daily. Unfortunately, some people are not searching carefully. We are not being fair-minded. You're close to your dream, bam. No. You'll be a then there be. How are you fair-minded, Anochi? You are fair-minded when you start asking relevant questions. One of the relevant questions you need to start asking is Anochi number one. Enti wujidi ampase Bible de o kire ne say obi a onye Kristo ni Yesu Kristo mra endi ni so ana. First question o se sa nipa ni ya no nye. So person you fair minded now examine two na. So obi o wiase a onyam bebo asum ye Kristo ni no. Jesus Christ mra the teachings of Christ, the law of Christ. What do you mean by law of Christ? The law of Christ is the teachings of Christ. 2 John 9:10. The ofum non tina Kristo Yesu nchire mu no oni eja no. Ena afi oba no. Na mum de otena san nchire nim no ono we eja ne oba no. Nti se ebie law of Christ man nchire na ode baaye no eno ene ye ka say in the teachings and I say the laws of Christ. Na ye bie mu akwa anim a uyi sa question na no ewie na osan so obisa ho se so enti de enianom ka ne say Matthew, Mark, Luke, John enka apamfo front kire ho meka ne sa de meka ne say twase uyi ano say so Jesus ni teachings a ode baaye no na eye only limited to Jew for ana say na ewo ho ma wiase nyina because anoche me sure say Brian ye suggest this topic we no one lady ebisa me question say but say Matthew, Mark, Luke ne John ye hwe nchire na ewo mu na Jesus ka tight ho asem Jesus can washing of feet ne washing of hands
okoshia dem memenda
odi humeda no na ba kwampa sister ne kan was Matthew chapter 5 verse 17 one popular verse I type utipa
musu se mbasa na difo no mama mbese na mo mbese ma
yes o say mama mbese mra mba be share ma enti Jesus na sister say another quotations aka ho Matthew chapter 15 verse 24 na Yesu ni Syrophoenician lady no oni oba no kasa Samaritan lady o ka say me ba to the house of Israel. Enti brother so we dey nke question ana na me ka say ani question. Enti wo here no etwa say we question ya no say so Jesus teachings no was it only limited to the Jews and I say now it was supposed to be applied even after Judaism had been done away with. These are some of the questions so to me bisa ho na oba okọ Bible mu ko hwehwa no yi a aboama conclusions no are right. In our quest to teach this no enne ye ba discuss mesre di echi boko ni nyina nsia di questions are welcome to bring your questions. But interestingly, we have had questions, right?
Yeah,
Question. This was the first question I know in a full video.
Yeah.
This was another question about. Then we had 2 questions coming in from Papa Samson Egan and our brother Blessing Buedi Kojo. I not just all her questions about any betray video no. And Papa Samson Egan another question. And I say or the several questions nearby, we try to answer them.
Yeah, sure.
Then Odebai say he's challenging us to a debate. Yes. So this is what he said. He says, I am challenging the spotlight on the word. I am challenging the spotlight on the word to a debate on this matter. Which matter? Anoche. Na sa topic
non-Christians.
Yes, does the law of Christ apply to non-Christians? Or challenging you say, or no, the law of Christ doesn't apply to non-Christians. And I answer say the law of Christ, it applies to non-Christians. So that is why he challenged us to a debate. What did we do? We accepted the debate. Yes. Or we accepted it. And this is what we said. And we said, thank you for proposing a public debate on this important topic. We accept your challenge. Our team will contact you to further discuss the modalities of this event. Thank you. And then if I pass also the back, I think say or then we added this to it because then you came beside the questions. You came beside papa questions say onyi ano na emboama se na be obi nko misquote obi and obi misunderstand obi. It happens a lot in public discussions. Say only obi ba be public debate and I say public anything. What you do is that ubi send the questions for clarity publicly. Na obi enhu the position there So Mr. Samson Egan called spotlight on the word for a debate, and we said yes, we have accepted. But for us to have that debate, in order so straight to the point, and it happens in a lot of theological debates where questions are sent to the opponent. Say the questions we are also discuss. No, be clear of Obia position. The question was this: do you disagree that the law of Christ is the teachings of Christ? As at now, or my response. Number 2, do unbelievers or non-Christians sin? Obi oriasiasu or heboniana. Yeah, Papa Samson Egan, or my response. Number 3, if non-Christians are not amenable to the law of Christ, why did Paul refer to some as sexually immoral people in 1 Corinthians 5, verse 10? And also on my response. Number 4, say, is adultery sin only when one becomes a Christian? And also Number 5, is there any New Testament book that was written to unbelievers? We say by because first one. Papa the question by say or say I think say obisa a question about what's the law of Christ. It's my response. And I said that the second John. It was written to Christians, therefore and yet they apply to non-Christians. That is quite surprising coming from him. And my question was very obvious, and the question is this: in your book be a New Testament or be a unbeliever and not we can even push this question to the Old Testament. Give us one Old Testament book that was written to people that did not belong to God. God did not care about them. Maybe we can look at, I mean, I don't know, I will not respond to that. So these are the questions Papa. And his response was that he's not going to respond to these questions because it will preempt the answers to the questions and therefore a debate. This is not a debate to see school burn.
Winners and losers. No, edition the person the current daddy. No, be a say na nyankopon asamuka na nyina ye hu de atwa say ye ne nyankwa. Enye win lose na.
There be in a very popular debate made it to a WhatsApp page so between Dr. Anthony Flew and Dr. Thomas B. Warren. more than 10 questions now. Or they send this and Dr. Thomas B. they send it. They say, "Oh yeah, no." He answered it publicly for everybody to have access to the answers, unless, of course, and I'm a comment section say, "Just say, be a papa, say, or my answer pe." In your position, and therefore say you share for debate now. I don't know what it will do to his position in the debate. So if it doesn't hold anything, he should give response to it.
Yeah.
Yes, and if your papa and my answers to questions where it is unfair because Obisa several questions were a comment section. We made a video to respond. Still, I said that Yema answer in the chat. We did that. So did we have any yes, Robi? No, nobody is afraid. Nobody. We want the truth. So we implore our daddy, say, please respond to the questions. Once you respond to the questions publicly, there, we are always welcome to have a public discussion without any prejudice or any no. So these are our questions to him. And Obi Awohen, so also make key attempts to answer the questions. We are always welcome. Please feel free to put your answers in the comment section. Now, that being said, no, somebody sent me a book written by himself. This is the book. I think it's not a book, sorry. Something like an outline for a teaching. And title on here, Covenant Amenability with a Look at Marriage. And this was his statement. This is by Samson Egan, Outreach Minister, P.O. Box 120, Salt Pond. If it is not from our daddy, we are always, you can correct us in the chat, but this is his address there. So let's go to his statement that is in relation to your topic for today. Your topic, is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John part of the New Testament? By that, teachings of Christ. No? So, New Testament books. No, and this is from page, I think, let me check the page number. Page 3 or page 1. Yes, page 1. Or say, the teaching of Jesus during his personal ministry was for Israel only. I'm not just saying, remember, you can't find some CCA auntie. Oh dear. You can't find change for now.
Fufu no nkwa nyina wie na aka fufu no o de na bedi nti yento ye once to once ye focus on na topic no ebi a hu bohia say ye ka ho asem a na ye kanti.
Okay, we will do that separately, but to let people know, say there were respected preachers amongst us teaching, say Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, it doesn't belong to the New Testament, and that is why we are looking at it to discuss it. Say there in the Bible, no, eka, anoche makasa kakra shase na.
Indeed, whether I say, oh, a nice intro to the discussion, very nice because usually we will be among fun say the and I say, who cry. Obi can say be a December Bonyeba, be about Bonya. We just say end of year resolution and a new year, then in the air, usually no time be as a fun say, and the air whom Bonya say, you best video I say, just stay teach you know say, but I ain't a video in a boy, you parent you, that's it. Let's move straight. A time no call the time you are. Say I want for a busy or we're gonna be busy to open on TikTok or 2 hours or TikTok of our video 30 minutes cry. I don't know what to make into say yeah na you try some so now it was and the first thing I ever say they can't say yes kiss when the ministry and my excuse was saying the Juma DNA see no some na Moses run another so some na kiss so many answers here. If I win say na you make it in street. Yes sir. Bibia bit man than bibia. And the excuse ba ye no. E ba excuse ye wo no kopim say ewu ye no. Na kiss so mai. Ndi excuse no wu achi no. E na kiss so say. Ndi asmafo wo man the team you no answer to two no. E ho na excuse na safo no ba ye. E ho e na kiss so say. Ndi before answer to two e na excuse ti say answer na e ba wu ni nyina na kiss so mai. Ndi before that no be no no you kiss ni. No Christo no kwa no nye Christo ni don the Baptist nye no Christo ni echo achi and if I no say say all kind Galatians chapter 4 verse number 4, I may sure say all these passages, you know, be why I can reading for the Bible because time is indeed be who fear with my church to one later one reading. Okay, Galatians 4 verse 4 I say a many read during your coupons man the bar or bow no my one of rana say so be a night day a what a man as Nyankopɔn wasɛm ka ne pefee sɛ Yesu Kristo ne wo no mmara n'ase. Mmara Mary anaasɛ Yesu maame wo no. Saa mmerɛ na Moses mmara na da so yɛ adwuma. But botayi nti a yɛwo no mmara n'ase sɛ dɛn obeyi yɛ dɛn afiri mmara n'ase. Nti ɔbaa sɛ apam a Nyankopɔn ne Israelfoɔ yɛɛ a ɔde mu mmara ahodoɔ bebree na Moses so dɛm a ɔman no. Ɛmɛyi baa dɛn ɔbɛkɔ. Nti sɛ wokan Hebrews chapter 9 verse number 15 and 16 na Bible kyerɛ sɛ obi yɛ nsamanseɛ a ne twa sɛ deɛ wɔyɛ nsamanseɛ no ewu ansa na owufuo yi esamase etim owufuo so onfa brabrofo mu also obi ye wela it just say nipa ko na waye wo no owu ansa if the wo na waye no say onye nwu ya wo nya djuma manfa Derek nya example Yankopon adom Derek o laptop kama pa menya ka bi su sa laptop no na he Derek aye wo say owu a onfa laptop ni ma no chi onfa ma enti onfa laptop ni ma ayi anochi na if ya Derek nyangwi fan we wa share space nyangwi na makọ ne dem se me ko laptop na kofi there we say anochi na ade live ben o so why we ma say laptop no me dia nti me ko fa da bi o just say o me say me wu a en na fa laptop ni ma nti the Hebrews chapter 9 verse 15 no and 16 no che ne say Jesus Christ wa ye wo me wo ne say obewu di na safo aba wo di ne moja beto na safo no say de as 20 verse 28 che no nti ma onye nwuye no saa mre no na apanda da so den ewo nti ma owuye no na ne wo na oye na eden eya djuma nti Jesus Christ ni wu achie no na na safo na eden e ba ndu kan Colossians 2 verse 14 ko na kan Ephesians 2 so Bible just say ni wu no mu no na obo apanda da no asendiem he nailed the old law to the cross according to Colossians 2:14 to 17 no nti bibia dey that say e ma ye na ready Jesus Christ tiase no na Moses mmara na daso adwuma na apam dada no daso ho na Kristo sum nya asase nti no na mbese yɛ de hyɛ ase mi sɛ Derek obɛka bibi kakra fa ho a na yɛ to so firi ho a
okay me da ase pa de me meka ame de ahye nkomo na se ne se the time of the writing of these books.
Yeah,
lot of times say etie nkomo afa Matthew, Mark, Luke, John and New Testament answer kan ho a the answer to the question is that it is these books are part of the New Testament. By that, no, the can say Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. In church, Jesus Christ, Emma, you want church, Annie, or you're limited to Jew for, but you want church, Jesus the man. It was supposed to transcend Judaism. And there was a use of Christosum emu. Now, say, can say, especially, brother Jesus Christ, one ministry, you say, not John Abba. John Abba nama odi nkomo or church. But that period now, Jesus Christ and a transitional period from Jerusalem and as a Jews some ebe ami ababe share or some friend say Christo somase. And this one sharing so we be say ban say no or to me can be say yenye wo Christo sumu but na Judaism na na wo honom. I don't check back to the books na dia no. So every time I throw Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all of them, all the books, at least we can have a good guess as to when these books were written. Because books need now the destruction of Jerusalem. Yes, you say Abakwasem Church say Jerusalem, or temple pan, it was destroyed in AD 70. Who read the fulfillment of these prophecies? No, this prophecy in the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. What that tells us, they say, prior to the destruction of Jerusalem, the book was written. So mostly, these books are dated between AD from maybe 55 or 58 down to AD 70. So that was the time the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John was written. When you say Paul letters in or Paul letters be before Matthew, and I say Mark, and I say Luke, and I say John ever. John was a latter book or Tron late cry with New Testament in him. And why is this important? I'm not sure Christosum shall say around AD 30 or AD 33, right? About 30 years ago, or should I say yes, about 30 years ago, and I say 20 years ago, and Sana Yebinyan, the first writing of the New Testament from Paul. Now later, I bet you Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. What do you think is happening? The apostles are writing things concerning blood Jesus, but or trying to chrysosome pencil. So how then do you even tell us that it is not part of New Testament era? How do you even make that conclusion? Say, and church a woman, any home chrysosome pencil. One of them, Matthew chapter 18, and maybe the has said, make kind of quickly, Matthew 18, verse 15. Or say, moreover, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you, you have gained your brother. But if he will not hear, take with you one or two more. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word may be established. Verse 17. And if he refuses to hear them, tell it to the church. And not Jesus Christ said, there was no church. Because there was no church, he had not called people out of the world yet. Yes, the word church was there because the Greek word ecclesia, it was being used. But for Jesus to use it in the sense of calling people out, he had not yet called anybody out because his blood had not been poured. Acts chapter 20, we read verse number 30 down to verse 32. We learn, say, he had not yet poured his blood, so that had not been done. But we see, say, Jesus makes reference to the church. I've heard explanation and answer questions about this. I don't know if you bring it up.
Very true. Some explanation be concerning Matthew 18:15. Now, Metia Chekaka. The Chima Minya and say, no, say, church now, I refer to Israel for no, the same pain for, or say the word church was there before the church. I mean, the church, as we know, the word ecclesia was there. Say the tree, we say Asafo, or the one who can say Asafo, as in say the people of Israel paying for no, and the paying for no will deal with the person. And that was the argument, not in the sense that the church, is so build there, you say about in aspect two, and yeah, no one now all can.
I think say somebody mentioned this to me, say Mr. Samson Egan, HRSA. So if he doesn't teach that, then you can correct me in the comment section if you are watching. But if that is indeed, even if it is not coming from him and it's coming from anybody, that will be false. That will be false in the sense that look at from verse 18. And Anoche, after giving the explanation from what verse 18 says, you realize, say, it cannot be, it is not true. Say, the church, ne one Abia, Sahindrin, Israel, penny for no one seven all can. Name or can Jesus Christ, I saw no one seven. Verse 18. Or say, assuredly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you lose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Is this in reference to the Jewish leaders? Was this in reference to Judaism? Say, Jew for now, whatever they bind on earth will be bound in heaven. No. This is kingdom discussion. And where do you remember this verse being used? Say, whatever you bind. I'm not sure, where do you remember this statement coming from?
Yeah, Matthew 16. Yeah, verse 19.
Matthew is the first time Jesus Christ making promise. So most theologians and as a Bible student, as I can say, this Matthew 18:18 is a parallel text to Matthew chapter 16, verse 18 and 19. And yes, I didn't think you can say, hey, as a follow one seven or can. And this all says a church never had or kasa about Jew for Hindu because the word asafo saying phobia. How did you even come to a conclusion say a Jew for Hindu and all can Jew for
because
how are you making your interpretation? And where's our pay? As a Bible teacher, no, you are not exegeting the Bible well. Who read the meanings into the text and exegesis. What the one church be run yami asem and yami church no say church no can wahano church no refer to Sahindri bi and say a group of people be there, but rather no refer to Jesus Nasafuna forthcoming in the future. And once we can continue. Verse 19. Or say, again, I say to you that if two of you agree on earth concerning anything that they ask it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. Verse 20. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, or say, I am there in the midst of them. It is not referring to the congregation. Say me, anoche, and my wife, ye shiem wo fie, ye sha say ye sumo nyankopon a. Asafo no na ehiem. Okay, enya asafo no, o say enya church no na emum eye Israel mpanyimfo no oka. Enti say 2 or 3 omuhia ono mo ye den. I don't get the interpretation.
Yeah, so that's it. Enti what's the verse 18, you know? Yeah. So verse 18, you know, to asafo no no asafo benya say Israel company for there. But Israel company for matchire was as one there chire was so na asese. Because verse 17 verse 18 it was so. So verse 17 is Israel company for there, and then verse 18 refers to Omo. So verse 17 refers to the church as we know her. Verse 18 also refers to the church as we know, and I think say the latter one no the best faithful for explanation now I can 170. I think say it makes sense.
Okay, I not just say me conclude my part na wa be mu bi ma say whether say Matthew, Mark, Luke and John e can New Testament no. The American from Trosem no and say ane e ka ho in what sense? Who say ye nuanom kan say ya na e bia o mo ka say enka ho a de o mo pese o mo meti assess o mo pese o mo kan say. Who say ye try de ni esua de a ye say 1 Corinthians 10 e boa me e be hu say any Romans chapter 15 verse 4 e boa me hu say Old Testament no.
Old Testament.
Indi Christopher so anything in chere na ewo Old Testament mu no ye ntwa free Bible ni mu yetimi sua bibi free mu e de bu ye mbra but enye ohye e maye enti se enuanum ne ka se Matthew, Mark, Luke, John enka New Testament de o kan say enye emu chere no eni se edi e Christopher so te de ebi ebe ka se Exodus emratie no endi me so but sua mu ade no to say the Lamentation, to say the prophet, all of them netieno. Stano moka say Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, e kasa books no. Name Indian so. That is unfortunate and not true. Enye no correct. Bible ene kasa enye no correct. Kwan be so ne yefa so hu sa. Anochi marema statement bi a Jesus Christ emekiye. Any statement a John the Baptist and kasanso emekiye. O se bra John the Baptist ba ya oye na adwuma no. O se munhwe anim obi ba ono na muntie no ane se utie statement in Matthew chapter 4 verse 23. This is Jesus talking, and Jesus went about all Galilee teaching in their synagogues. And make I say Jesus is talking something that Jesus did, and Jesus went about all Galilee teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. Now, chapter 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Anochi, or say a witness to what? All nations.
Oh.
Was this limited to the people of Israel? No. Chapter 20 says, verse 13. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman had done, be told for a memorial of her. What is being said? Jesus said, "Dear man, many years, so preach our gospel, baby, So the question is, did Jesus have a limited view of his teaching in mind? And I will come back to Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. Address he said, did Jesus have a limited view of say the teachings? No, it is only meant for the children of Israel. Said yeah, say the teaching of Jesus during his personal ministry was for Israel only. That is false. It wasn't for Israel only. It wasn't for Israel only, because Jesus say it will be preached in all. If it is not for them, why will it be preached to them? Now, last Bible passage, Mark chapter 16, verse 15 to 16. I'm not sure say, and he said unto them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believes and is baptized will be saved. But he that believes not shall be condemned. My question is this. Such statement, who made the statement? Was it a teaching of Jesus? Yes. Does it apply to Christians? Yes. Is it part of the New Testament? Yes. To say, his teachings were limited only, and you saw only. That is where the problem is. Say only the Jews. Then Matthew 16, 15 to 16 is not for Christians and for the whole world. That would be false. That would be false. And that is why Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, New Testament in church, Pacho Medibesia.
Yo, I'm mental also through. I'm going to go back to the dynamic and I'm mental also. And you know, from the beginning, no, my I said, my excuse to buy, no, some men are so many answers here. Now, Moses man, that's all. Now, upon that, and that's all. People say, Christo, we are here, or the Christo some buy. Now, so yes, Christo buy, no, or Basu be watching the point in our quite Eden as a faba. You know, 3 years now, we did the ministry, no, one be tenant say, or to us, I know, not for number. Over tenancy, Bible says, the ministry now said at the age of 30. And now we, after bare 3 years, and she said 3 or 3.5 years, crap. With the bare 3 years. 3 years now, you excuse the transfer on or the year then. Now, and such a nigga again nowadays, I don't know a day. In any say now, but I ain't excuse no what church and not way such and say now or the church. We come out chapter 4, excuse the ministry last year. From verse 1 about now I hear fasting I we and or bon some coffee on the way. And now was on the way actually I was saying the Juba DRC no. Abato yen senche na ma vimpo amafo fi Syria eba betie no nji ma obetie no na obeka Matthew chapter 5 verse 1 na say ohun kofo kokoo no okopepo no so na otena se no na tiafo ne ba ne nchen na obi na no yeden echeche wo nji Yesu Kristo ne 3 years na odete ase no obecheche adentia ebite na safo no ba na safo no ye ono no dia nti obecheche die na safo ne ba onipa yeden bra ye muwum. Nje Yesu Kristo best friend in those 3 years at the church against idea ko ba ya na ka obewu na ko everything na ka obewu atọ na safo dia na ncheche na ocheche na ehu nyina ehu hia asafo dia na ka na nyi ko cheche everything upon that and it was perfect. So kind Psalm 19 verse 7 na Bible just say sa laws na nyankopon de ma Israel na awie pe it was perfect. That Israel for a bubu upon in the sense of when the breaking laws no they didn't obey. Oman nimra so na map on break here by mrana nyankopɔ de mo nyina na eyepe njina ni se Yesu Kristo sa ba de ncheche fufu be pe so de Yesu Kristo be ne se obecheche de se ono na tafo no ba odi ba behu a obeye nti from Matthew chapter 3 ko nyina na omu sisi the na preparation kopem se na tafo no be ba nti o kan Matthew 3 verse 1 ko na e ma John the Baptist say ne juma de ase no was mo so chama de no so ahine na ben so ahine ne den asafo no okay Matthew chapter 4 verse 17 na ono ankasa so Kristo ka say mo so chama de so ahine na ben so we do Matthew chapter 10 na ho na Bible no list Kristo na somafo no nkofo du minu na ofo mu free na fiafo ni mu no ama Bible no bo mu nyina di ma akọ o kan fi verse 6 ko na Bible je say emra oyi mu nyina fo ma akọ no o chem so ko preach say den osoro hine na den aben ndi de Yesu Kristo be ya asase so nyina na say wo yen se chene ma nipa be gini di e be gina chi na na wo cheche di se na safo no ba den omonye eni se oyi memma du meni gina chi no na omo be hu se we na twa se ye wasafo nim ndi se memi Yesu Kristo se mi wu na mekọ na se mi mogya no to asafo no a mo na mudi machie no de ma che mo no mo na mo be chi asafo no de twa se asafo no de eye eni se o kan John chapter 14 verse number 26 the Bible say this is o call onye omunyanka obeswa no ho nkonko na ba mo so na eba first no be ni say obe kai wo mo ndika Yesu Kristo ncheche na ocheche ni nyina no was to the Jews only and I say e wa pam na da ni mu a o kai wo mo den yeze ncheche na o cheche wo na safo na ba na ka yin hia bi but o say o kai wo nti imra Yesu Kristo yi za memadu mi na o cheche wo mo no o cheche wo mo nsema beba o Kristo so mu nti won koko ne ba one ebe kai wo mo de Kristo a che wo mo nyina na say kai wo mo wie a o say dey na fi na a cheche wo mo de o mo nim na de ntia e so kan John chapter 17 ho na o say na Yesu Kristo so won say bebre ka che wo mo ntimi omutimi nkari sisi ya na mum so ono no wachi no asafo no ba asafo no that asafo no benya tanti asem they understand the first of all this is what they be see asafo nim nti we na asafo no ba munye banye bibia na mubitima gine ne nti honhom ne ba ebe kai mo de ma kire mo no afei de to so mi no de montima nye no na honhom na den a kire mo nti bibia di adanse se pefi se excuse ne cheche na okisusu mu na mbese kai Matthew chapter 5 Derek beto boy ma kan kan se no e be start verse 21 no 21 ma me say see verse 17 no nti I mean summarize my story now sir verse chapter 3 no John the Baptist asase preparation towards the church omuhiesie ma asafo naba chapter 4 excuse obebo asu wayen sencheni nipa betie no chapter 5 afei nipa etie no wasase cheche ndu be verse 17 na ho na ka se munzu se ma se mesei emra na adifo no mama mesei ne mo mesei ma oso ne asase ne ntwamu o se atwade koto ba kwa na sense ne emfiri mra no mu ntoje se ni nyina aba mu ansa sa pastor Jose che se excuse by no obe fulfill the law enyina inim se o be fulfill the law so the be ka ho nti nye se bia o de ncheche ni bi na ebe ka the Old Testament no ho da bi obe fulfill in the sense one prophecies are what are found in the law and the prophets. The Bible not talking about the law and the prophets. So kind John chapter 1 verse 45 I say the books of the Old Testament. In comes out what do I found on number fulfill say Obama ni nyina abom. The first me you know first Peter 2 and Hebrews 4 about say Jesus Christ obasa say so anya boneda. Nti obedi mari nyina so pepe e fulfill no. Nti Jesus Christ fulfill law ni wie no and the ma apamona den e ba wie. Nji o say o maso be say no be fulfill e ma no ma pam na den aba wiye na ono e de ono na pam na den aba e de ono nchechi aba nti from verse number 21 no e na Jesus so chechi say ono nchechi nko e na pam da nko nti Derek but in read o kakra na me so say e be make sense ama ya ti ase ye to so if we don't
destroy the law or the prophets I did not come to destroy but to fulfill.
Nti John 21 no time for time's sake.
You have heard that was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that
you, always let you know. What is 64 and say, and you and I may so a day, Miss will say, you will say, I'm not in ye, sir, I'm not a mumra, we know, when I'm about to maybe for Fileno, maybe for Filema day, I'm an nephew. Ni se me fulfill na se free wa we na me church of Kristosu mu nso ko wachi kakra verse 20 no che se twase ye tre na ebro forasifo ne de ne so ohu no ndika eye ye njeche ko de ma in the Old Testament da enka ehu hia se Jesus Kristo kasa o se we eye njeche a ewo in the Old Testament but me Kristo me so me ncheche ni and obi enu obetuma kasa ta ncheche ya Jesus Kristo cheche in the Old Testament cheche Kristosu mu. Derek, read to us on in the whole picture.
I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First, be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift.
Number 27. 27. Similar thing. 27.
You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery. But I say to you that whoever looks at a woman,
but I say to you, and you say, hold on, be free 27 now 31, so the same thing. And so, because marriage, the next yes, in chapter 5, and say, Mate say, was 64 no say. Na me so me so there, me say, in the nine say yes, or contradict Old Testament, no. If the Old Testament, the running no. Moses on free nipa mu na de mrama nipa. Yankopon man nyina fi Yankopon. In Jesus o ma e me contradict mra no. Ne na o che mu nyina ne say na etie. Ba mra bi ba sa apam no enter wada Kristo ma pam eden eba. Into nipa bia no endi ono no ncheche so. Nti apam da mu de no ye so physical. Ba ye Kristo mu de no e de ni ehunhum musum. In Jesus emphasis nyina ne say ade bia onipa wodwene wotim ni no ma ekoso wo koma mu nyina no ehun fi hia onyankopon nje ni se ukobọ dwuma yansa eni se ukodi ewu ansa eni se obi a ukobọ kro no ansa ade bia wo ye na wodwene hu wotim no se akono no koso wotim a ni nyina eden ebone nje Jesus Christ me ehu a distinction between what say the old law and the new law nje ewie no yenko John 13 verse 34 na ewie another ekoso obom John chapter 13 verse number 34 no na yento yeah.
A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another.
Oh, I say a new commandment. I say I said you for no or de maye. So say na said you no de maye no enye from brother na de nyepe. Into a new commandment say piece of way if be na se be ya. Eno na e be nya nkwaje America. Into that me just so beto so fi na later masabam. Yeah.
Okay. Anoche, great explanation. That's a pa. And commenting on Matthew 5, the reading yes see ya no. Any wouldn't say yeah video about we no be send them a Bible quotation we beside me say na say Matthew 5 okay abro catch a branch and say answer na be why de no ja why de no to make sure say we I reconcile answer na be why de no. No, or the bizarre question about repentance, we know that is reserved for the next one in Tiabeka Hansen. Do not no, actually say, then why is it say Jesus say catch and say Jawo Koneko resolve it? I don't know, we are.
Yeah, perfect example.
So
Yeah.
I told him say yeah, can't say man, me the side illustration.
Yeah, do repentance.
Yes. Anoche mate o kasa na no mate se enuanom so a echre opposite of the year canon echre Matthew chapter 5 when they could the same Bible na but interpretation no na and interpretation na ye nua ba akode mai wo Matthew 5 no the all can say o see Jesus Christ eba be chire said the e wo sanka mra ne tie ankasa enunti na okan ne saa no but a Jew by the time Jesus barriers na Jew for na sesa emrana to the point say na the actual law na nya me de ma omunti Jesus Christ e ba ye no e na obechiro mo say ankasa na wosenka enye but I have a response to that minim say obi obeka ho bibi dia but
yeah especially concerning the main reason why we are making these videos marriage, divorce and remarriage and then exactly. So commenting on that on Matthew 5:31. It's almost say sankasa the tie there and then naka in common by we nti me read the direct read mama verse 31 Matthew 5:31.
Furthermore, it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery.
If they are saying say when the actual explanation of the Old Testament there, and then not say in commonality, because I don't know here Matthew 19, I don't know Adam pencil, and I don't know Moses pencil there, and I say obviously I don't know Kisumu, and then not you knew what the video be say you marriage, divorce, remarriage, it has been confirmed. If you say Obibia Deuteronomy chapter 24, if you say in the Old Testament, according to Deuteronomy 24, no, Roman, our Jaya Krata, and if you get to be changed, never of one sister. And I what was a saying in the Old Testament and after in the Old Covenant. But me Christo, Manchester Medeba, oh, Kisusumuni, and yet the okay, Deuteronomy 24 now kind of Jesus will come Matthew chapter 5 and Matthew chapter 9. Abobra. Na me no contradict enye pe. Nti na me no nja nti me nya ba ko. Nti den de che say Jesus Christ say na na tie. First na mo kwa to mo ja wekre. Na akoma de nti. Ba say de mu hu kwan sa. Kristosu mu no wo ja wekre a this one thing pe na mama kwan. Say wekre no akoba dwoman na so ba so be ja ni kunu a. This okunu no akoba dwoman. Na so say nya sa na say mu titi a. Na say ko ware bofufra. Asa de ne mfa na ware. Muti aware say mu. Nti say we can say this is the main explanation there. No, for money the idea no. this passage, you know, like a piece of someone, a basa then, or more arguments and has been flawed.
And I'm not from Matthew chapter 5, you know, say utie enkomo ekoso wahana. If the yenuanom bi eka say we no na Jesus or bie mranimu yie na enya ade a be Christopher so a, then there will be a problem, because what you are saying is say prior to the coming of Jesus Christ, no, Jew for na ante nyankopon mra na seda. They never understood it till Jesus came into it. And if they never understood it, that means they never pleased in any way.
That's it. And look at it so funny, because somebody used to say in the ministry, I said, now I just 3 years for the church to come. In this case, so Yakubu has to wait for about 1,500 years for Jesus Christ to teach them for just 3 years for them to understand the law. And you know, they make sense. Hear how that, you know, contradicted. There again, Mark chapter 7.
Okay, it may make sense. What you mean? Why are you careful? Obi be misinterpret. Obi be.
But that's it. Oh, boy.
What he's saying doesn't make sense. What you see logically, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, logically sound. Yeah, yes. That's it. You see, you can say no, you can say yeah.
Yes,
the argument.
Yes. So back to the air canon. And yes, because Jesus is giving a different law. And if you read from Jews, who read Jews or more interpretation of the law. Now read the Jesus Babekana. These are two different laws. So Jesus said, in the old law, no, Yankopon mra no, enti na na no chese okaya yes say obi efom mra na ne yakunu. Se ye ne yenuanom ne na fofo we SDA edi nkomo na ye kamera ne ho asem a. Point back where can say, e mra nsem du no nyame de ma Israel ni nyina, odi owuo kan ni nyina ho ana no chemeboa.
Yeah.
Owuo kan ho Jesus by no wasesa no, o say just by looking at the lady, what lasting after her, you have committed adultery. In your heart.
That in the Old Testament.
Yeah. And your Old Testament is different.
Yeah.
A different. And he said, okay, say, oh, Matthew 5, no, just explanation of it. Yes, understand, say, you were the two sides of it. Only Jew for nekasa or chiro omumra na si abuamu mu di ekosoba. And chira or chira would be then applied in Christianity. Now, Anochi, let me make my point here before we go. 1 point per one Bible quotation per John chapter 6. The whole book of John 6. You see the whole chapter of John 6, saying a big chapter, one of the biggest in the New Testament, if I am correct. 71 verses. Now, over John 6, what is my point with John 6? A bit more per se, said Jesus Christ could not have been alive as a Jew, living with Jews, preaching among Jews, and yet giving instructions for Christians yet to come in the future. There are so many passages that anticipate can say the will be used even after Judaism. But John chapter 6, Jesus Christ about Onunu. I'm not heard your kind. John 6, verse 55. I'll say, maybe I should start from verse 52. The Jews therefore quarreled among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Then Jesus said to them, most assuredly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Verse 54, whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Verse 55. For my flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. Question. Maybe say, not Jesus Christ, I'm not you. How could the listening Jews, how could they drink his blood and eat his flesh while he was alive? It's anticipatory. Yes. In church, in in the future. Idea they are supposed to do it when he dies. Owu aden eba Chrisosum. So is the teaching of Christ. New Testament, is it part of the new covenant? Yes. When was this statement? Can say Jesus Christ came. John chapter 6, verse 57. As the living Father sent me, I live because time and or trust around AD 90. Christosum shall say time then. AD 33. Such statement where Jesus can or on the time then. Somewhere AD 90. And is it part of the new covenant?
About 60 years difference. Yeah.
Yes, I can a pamphor from home and then a pamphor from church. Say, I'm careful, no, I'm teaching you. Trust him and kind of waiting. It is possible for Jesus to have said something for the future, but not Judaism, and that's why I will honor decided.
Okay. I mentor myself, so myself a story, and intimate also. In Jesus Christ, Obaye no, na old covenant na ho. And Obaye no, before I remember do me training almost every bewu. Ede me myself number me wu a me bo from that nothing give na Christosum aba. Nti me be church mo de munya asafo na ba. Denti kama Yesu so tia se nyina there go to benka
for some time but
good nti no or church or mo de Christosum ba o yen o mo beye nti mra Yesu so wu so ye a wa church o mo do mo nyina wie no quotation na quotation Matthew 28:18 ko no also mo ko ye amanama nyina ma fiafo na mo bu wo so se aja ene oba ne hungugudim na mo church on say o mo ni de masem nyina so de na Yesu so wa se na wo se normal what map from that amfo and I say normal in the old covenant dabi wa fa memma du minu no wa che mo say masafo ba say ni say na monye wum nti say the say muko bo asu a mo church say Yesu so won church e fa aware ho ene normal ho do nyina Yesu so won church e ene apa ndo da mo de no so ne wum nti we ni na we den monye na moye a mo ba Yesu so na fiafo nti o say go make disciples say moye Yesu so den na fiafo nya pa bo da mo de no nti okay answer to two amra Yesu so na safo na hyase no obi bi say Peter ne asma pa ka say nwanum yenye de no in verse number 38 Peter say mo search am adwen na mo nyina mo yemo su adentia sana na Yesu so a church mo Yesu so church so be kan verse number 42 na o say no okura asma fo no church mo sa church asma fo no nya na we the Yesu so a che mo a o kan in Matthew chapter 28 say mo nko church say mo ni de maso nyina so no sa church no na Yesu so krom nti the Yesu so no mo na nje de o church mo ene de honkonko no ba ebe ka o nyina no eno ena na asiafo na ka no we de omukura sa ncheche ni ma ya de fe say asiafo na ncheche no nji so obedu verse 47 no ka say wo Nyankopon aye na wo numa nyama ma no nyina enim na Awurade de wona oje won kwa ka asafo no ho a asafo benya asafo na Yesu Kristo esiesie ya ba wo sase so efa memadu mi no cheche mo de mo nye wasafo no mu no sa asafo no ena na aba nipa ba so omukura ncheche Yesu Kristo cheche mo ma na ote ase enim eno ena Nyankopon aye den ede omo aka ho no na mi wie no ema Yesu Kristo ote ase ano so kan Matthew chapter 17 verse number 1 na yeko no the transfiguration ema Yesu Kristo ko so ko bompa ye fa John Peter ni Andrew kan ho ana John James and Peter that's my confused kaka one miensa ta ko miensa de obi Yesu Kristo achi no ena amukoya Elijah bae ena Moses bae ena ni bi ka say no Yesu Kristo na yenti no and it was God saying say in say na fit so Nyankopon was God saying say me de mra bi ba Moses o ba say Moses ma no say isi mbese mesisa mu kakra de Moses ya ba nyina no mondungu na afi de Yesu Kristo aba na manya na da bi the point was they say na Elijah ojinoma adifo and na Moses ojinama mra no and na o che say no ma hodo na comprise the Old Testament nyina no e time aso Yesu Kristo aba be yefro nti afi ncheche na Kristo de ba no ene na yunkurom nti opo omu nyina say Yesu Kristo di ncheche bi ba no na ebe ye dwuma Kristo mu ene na yunkurom nti for someone to say all what Jesus said, no, like 100%, no, to the Jews only. The Susuma, and that is totally false. And I commenting on okay, Matthew 23, say Jesus Christ talked about tithes, and I say, okay, who made them be the question now, or catch them say, follow the 10 commandments, you know. In him say the medical science, and Jesus Christ, man, not here, no. Now, from the moment and nay, you know, now Moses ran a yedma, and no, obi this was Amber Numa, Unyanko. You know, what your money, Moses, no, that say, as young phone say, we, and I'm better me, oh, Christmas soon. Into Derek, me so the Bible count.
Oh, Darby, me Fabi won't count.
And I'm being count.
Yeah, time is
the time, I'm being count,
and just yeah, part 2 of this episode. Said
oh, yeah, I'm 2 minutes. I'm 2 minutes, maybe, yeah, yeah, I promise on my own that we face with, it was, it was what. On the night, you commented on Matthew chapter 5. Said now, because the judge said, now if you say church, almost a medium run of sweet. I know correct. There's a okay Leviticus chapter 11. Now go home when the Old Testament say, Ubian say, you and you no money. Aboa face our don't so my only skills, you Aboa on chill with the card, you need. Aboa and the tot moon pie, you need. A mra or be an sir. But okay, Mark chapter 7, a maintain to Minkai. Okay, from verse number 18 to 23 now. His chair say, David, and you know, Kisosumo dear, in it, yes, sir. In the Old Testament, I am finding a copomra, Ubusua, what to Nakopomra. But Kisosumo de Tissa. And was say, the reason why Kisosumo say, I say, I did be if you nipa mubano, and the good hoofing, I did if you know gumum. And was I did be a fair one thing, Babiano, and of the infant of all gumum today. If we caught Nium, now Koya Nimu, and then good hoofing. Into all kind of say, yes, you casa, editing no money now. You say Kisosumo dear. If you are Bobia, say a cranty, say a proco, say a salmon, say a gang, if you are digging. So because say, now you speak or take a manuya a drop. Because Mark chapter 7, some of you speak or no, and in Leviticus chapter 11, a bobra, contradicting, he said, or can say, or the church is more, and yes, what chair say, Kisosumo, we near ye, and as I didn't so I'm pampa, a yo Kisosumo, or my quan say, Henry Abobia, and he, a menusa. I wanted to talk about baptism. There were several things I used to say, yeah, it is a radio, it was not to the Jews only. Okay, John chapter 3. Me so say, okay, me so say questions, Beba. Yeah, and I'm sure when the questions come, you make another video on that. So, for this piece of church, Subo Hansem, the Lord's Supper, obviously, no, can never be part of the Old Testament. Into infancy, yeah.
All right. Said a tea for a tea now for her no there will be biase we part 1 of this particular topic I discussing, which is Matthew to John part of the New Testament. The next episode no na abuama enuanom questions be bia no yetumi afa no. Like we always tell you, this is a pre-recorded video. It's say a pre-recorded no questions now there see ya no ebia na ye ntumi enya no, but ye prefer questions ni na in the next episode no ye dey aka ho in the part 2 of this topic no na ye no anochi aka bebre. There are so many points ho no ma e kire ampa say Matthew, Mark, Luke and John New Testament in church ho it can say decrease of also, and made the statement way to screen to say it is not true. Is the teaching of Jesus during his personal ministry for Israel only? The answer is no. The answer is no. And to teach, say, Jesus in church, you heard all the Bible passages are say Jesus in church, it was not only meant for Israel. So answering our question is Matthew to John part of the New Testament? Yes, it is indeed part of the New Testament. Anoche meaning say only 1 second ebeka bibidia anyesa ye den komoni nyina
okay.
Yo na nyankopon ya adoma next week Sunday 3 o'clock same time ebeba mo nchen na ye ne mo ababidi enkomo onyankopon onhira na ye kai yem papa Samson Egan say question na debate challenge or the buyer no say I am challenging the spotlight on the word to a debate on this matter. Will you people accept it so we can organize one? And our answer is yes. We accept the debate and we added 5 questions. Do you disagree that the law of Christ is the teachings of Christ? Yeah, papa, yes, sir. The questions now, no my comment section, and I say obey video, the better, but so the bar, if I say publicly, no, obi who responses to questions, no, because we beside your questions publicly, you questions now, no, and the answer you beside questions, answer, and the debates, no, ya to say, you know, a decide, man. Do unbelievers or non-Christians sin? The part of why a question, no, if non-Christians are not amenable to the law of Christ, as you teach, why did Paul refer to some as sexually immoral people in 1 Corinthians 5, verse 10? Number 4, is adultery sin only when one becomes a Christian? Obi be Christian in kwa and adultery and the last one say if there are is there any New Testament book that was written to unbelievers? Inti ya papa say we questions ya no said ya Canada na you know ebe disankita hon. We have accepted the challenge to a public debate. Onyankopon onhira obi bia yakra mo. Ye be san so ehia bio. Bye.
Adios.